Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining, and welcome to another session of our Day One and Beyond series, where we take you through various topics and activities related to building solutions on Oracle Cloud. My name is Joey, and I'll be the host for today's session. This is part two of our fifth session of the Oracle Cloud Analytics Cloud series, and today we will be focusing on the artificial intelligence features and functionality within the platform. If you missed part one on machine learning, you can find it on Cloud Customer Connect or on our YouTube playlist. To lead us through today's webinar, I'm honored to introduce our featured speakers, Uma Kumar from our personalized training team and Pete Madura as our analytics expert. And with that, I will hand it over to Uma.
Thanks so much, Joey. So, hi everyone. My name is Uma, like Joey mentioned, and I'll be taking us through a brief intro to some of the concepts and features that Pete is later going to demonstrate for us in the OAC console. So for a brief agenda today of what we're going to be covering, I'll take us through an overview of OAC that you may have seen before if you've joined previous webinars. It'll be a review of the comprehensive analytics platform, and then we'll dive into the different AI features. We're first going to be discussing some native features within OAC, as well as how you can integrate some AI models from various AI services in OCI. And then lastly, Pete will go through kind of everything we discussed today in a tailored demonstration. All right, so now let's get into our overview of Oracle Analytics Cloud. So Oracle Analytics can be thought of as a comprehensive analytics platform, providing you with capabilities for augmented, self-service, as well as governed analytics. So today we're going to be mainly talking about the augmented analytics, right? How we are using artificial intelligence, and again, how you can kind of integrate different AI models and tools from other services in OCI. But that being said, we have also previously discussed a lot in the self-service analytics portion, talking about visualizations, dashboarding, data sets. And you can also take advantage and kind of scale out and extend to an enterprise level in OAC by using different roles, taking advantage of our enterprise architecture and security. So this slide is going through a holistic view of the analytics workflow. It's going to begin with your more technical tasks like connecting to relevant data sources or modeling the physical sources into logical business views. Then it will allow you to start your data preparation and enrichment. Next, we'll follow the more business-centric tasks like exploring your data, making insights, essentially creating these visual stories and an overall experience that you can lastly then share through collaboration with your different colleagues. So we'll kind of be focused on in between the prepare and explore page today. So I'm going to kind of categorize the training today into our two different buckets. We have AI natively built in OAC and then the AI that can integrate into OAC. So we'll first discuss some of the native features, then go into the integrated ones. Before I get into the native features, I do want to invite Pete to talk about what's the importance of using these AI models from different services and what's the real advantage here? Why do you suggest customers take advantage of it?
Well, when I think about the newest advancements in I think that for so many years, decades even, businesses have always known that almost any digital file has some business value. However, querying all these files wasn't possible, and in a few cases, technology could help extract data from these objects, but it was costly, inefficient, and not typically scalable. AI has made this dream possible. With a few clicks or a few lines of code, we can extract data from almost any file type. This means we can finally add all of our text, PDF, video, audio, images to our data pipelines, and OAC will enable you to utilize these powerful pre-trained AI models, and that's the focus of today's session.
Awesome. Thank you, Pete. All right, so now we can kind of get into, our different components we're going to be talking about. Let's first discuss some of the native AI features in Oracle Analytics Cloud. I'll mainly be going through one today, which is Oracle AI Assistant. So that is going to be an AI-powered tool that helps you build and refine visualizations for your workbooks. The assistant is enabled by indexing your data set for search, and you can find it by opening the Insights tab in your workbook. You can ask the assistant natural language questions or prompts to analyze your data. For an example, maybe saying, show me sales or profits by cities. And then the AI assistant will provide visualizations and data insights. Users will also have the ability to ask follow-up questions or start a new chat session. And it's good to note too that the Oracle Analytics AI assistant is using a large language model when processing your questions. So it's really looking for patterns in the model when it's answering the questions that you are prompting it. Now I'll briefly go through some of the integrated AI services and features that you can bring into Oracle Analytics Cloud. So OCI hosts several powerful pre-trained AI models to assist with your data requirements. These include models like language, vision, and document understanding. Access to these models are going to be controlled through a specialized OAC connection, which ensures only authenticated users have access to it. Once you have, created your OCI resource connection in OAC, then you can go ahead and search for the model in the proper compartment and register that model in OAC. Once the model is registered, then they can be immediately applied via data flows to deliver model outputs. Some popular models include things like sentiment analysis, object detection, and key value extraction. All right, so that was kind of an overview of some of the different tools that Pete will be going into in his demo. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Pete to take us into the OCI console.
Great. Thank you so much, Uma. And thank you everyone for attending this session. For the next 40 minutes or so, I'll be covering all the features that Uma just previewed. Now, I want to move up to one more slide. This slide here I kind of put together, and it represents an overview of Oracle's capabilities when it comes to services that support a modern data platform. I'm just going to kind of highlight them. Since today we are really going to be focused on Oracle Analytics Cloud, right? That is going to be our launching point. But we're going to start with some native OAC features, our Gen AI, and then the integrated ones, language, vision, and document understanding. So that's how we're really going to break down the demo today into those two components, native versus integrated. And with that said, let's get out of PowerPoint. Here we are in the OAC home screen. I'm running on the May 2025 Enterprise Edition. Now, this latest release was a big one for the product. All OAC customers can now utilize the new AI assistant as long as they have the minimum production OCPUs. So for all the customers that have seen demos of this feature, you should have it enabled within your instance within the coming days as the rollout continues. So this demo today will hopefully be even more impactful because you can actually take what we're showing you and apply it immediately. And this is also where we're going to start today. The AI assistant is really the first of many AI-based features within OAC. Let's start by asking it a few questions. I'm going to open up one of my data sets. And now that that's loaded, we'll go over to our assistant. It has already been enabled. I'm going to walk you through how to make sure all the components to enabling it and assisting the AI assistant I will be going through after this. But I want to ask it a question on my data. We're going to start off by, is there a relationship between sales and cost based on cities? Now, again, this model has to be smart enough to go look at my data. One, I don't even have a cost column. I have a shipping cost column. So we'll see what it picks there. I also have a lot of cities. So we'll see what it comes back with. Sometimes the model takes a minute to wake up, but also sometimes it's processing a lot of data. And once this actually renders, we're going to go, if it brings back what I'm hoping it does, we're going to then go ask follow-up questions to then continue refining the process. One other thing I want to mention, this feature is still only available for developers within OAC. However, it is roadmap and product management has signaled that they are working hard to get this available for the consumers, which means developers will be able to add this feature and say, hey, consumers, you can ask questions directly against your data in workbook mode to get any of their answers. Okay, great. Well, this chart finally came back. We can see it's giving us, it is giving us a relationship between city sales and shipping cost. But at this point, little too much data for my needs. So I'm going to try to refine this a little bit and ask it to limit it for just New York and Chicago. Oh, and we can see there, we got New York, we got Chicago. We can kind of, based on the size of those, there obviously we can see the differences. And actually, for good measure, let's add Austin. Okay, well, that's a pretty good starter chart. I'll bring that over to my canvas. And now I got all three of the cities in question. But now I do want to see this in a different view. So I'm going to ask it to change it to a bar chart. And that's good, but I also want to have it add the category. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. I'll throw that down there. So now we got some quick insights, just by asking in natural language some of the things that they were interested in the data set. Now, let's try to ask some more complex questions. I wanted to create a pivot table with the products with negative profits by year. Let's see what this comes back with. And there we go. Let's bring it over to our canvas, take a look. And I'd say that did a pretty good job. So everything is negative, all by products and all by year. And it is a pivot. Okay. And now I'm going to show you one new feature. And for those users that have been using the AI assistant for a while, this might be a little new to you. So my question is going to be, what were the 3 top products in terms of sales during the start of COVID? So in this question, you're going to see that the large language model not only can grab some of the metadata around your data sets, but it will actually also help ask the question there. And not quite what I was expecting. Let's maybe refresh that one more time, ask one more time. That's what I was looking for. So you can see at the top of it, it's got like a little book. It's basically saying, hey, out of the large language model, I used some of my general knowledge to help formulate this question. And when you get these responses, that will actually show up right there for you on the assistant itself to let you know that it didn't use all data from your data set, that it did use some general knowledge in the model. So those are the types of questions. As you're asking questions, you can ask questions like that, like what happened last summer, right? The model is going to be able to know that. So these are just a few examples of what we can do with the AI assistant. And of course, it's just going to get stronger and stronger every day. But the one thing I want to mention here is that this isn't magic. That anything we do in here still requires some good questions. It will potentially require some synonyms. And that's kind of what I want to focus on for the next couple of minutes here. So depending on how well you ask your question and what synonyms you have makes a big difference in here. So let's take a look at the way we configure this. So first, I'm going to go back to my home screen, and then I'm going to go to console as an admin. And I'm going to get down here to generative AI section. Now, a few new features within this May release. Of course, we have our Oracle LLM that is supporting all of your OAC instances. This is the default service. but we've now added the capabilities to bring your own services. You can register other Gen AI models to utilize with the AI assistant. I can come in here. The first one that we're offering is an OpenAI GPT-4 Turbo. In order to use this model, you do need to get a API key from the vendor. And the only thing to note is that when you are using models outside of Oracle, the metadata of your data will also be leaving Oracle and will be sent to the vendor that you choose. Just to the metadata, but I just like to make people aware of that. And you can expect many more models to be added here over time. Now, as far as the AI assistant features, the first one that we saw is AI assistant workbooks, right? So we can see the default service is Analytics Cloud. And again, if you add other services, they will populate here. You can actually, as an admin, you can see how many times people are using this. And then another feature that I'm going to show in a minute is catalog descriptions, which is, again, one of the first of many new AI features that are going to be embedded inside the tool. So first, let's take a look at synonyms and how to add them. Now, AI Assistant can work against your data sets and your subject areas. To allow your subject areas to be able to be utilized against the models, you do need to be an admin and you do need to come into what's called search index. It's a one-time task. And right here, these are all of my subject areas within my instance. And you can see over here, we have new columns added. Whether you want it to be used for the assistant, whether you want it to be used on the home page, because the home page is now powered by the LLM when you ask questions, and then the crawl status of the data. But more importantly, if I go into one of my subject areas and I see on my column level, this is where you can add synonyms, right? So now here I could say number of customers instead of, we have the pound sign. And this is really where it makes a big difference. The more synonyms you have, the better off the model will be in responding, especially when your columns are very cryptically named. Now, this is all you need to do to set it up to be able to ask questions against the subject area model. Now, one other word of caution. We've just increased the number of data points to 2,000. Right here, you can see we're using 49 of 2,000 per data model. Now, we've heard very strongly from product management that you want to be very selective and you want to be thoughtful when you are turning on these subject areas and the columns you're selecting. The message from product management is do not turn on every single column. Go selectively, go slow, turn on a couple columns at a time, make sure it's working right, add synonyms, and then slowly layer onto it. If you have a subject area model with 2,000 or more columns, you can certainly put it on, but we have also noticed that anything over 500 might start having some diminishing returns. So that's something we're looking at, but we also want to make sure that you're aware of that as consumers. So pretty straightforward to go here and enable subject areas. If I go back to home, if I want to go to a data set, all I have to do is have the right privileges in the data set. I can go to inspect. I can go to search. And here it is. It's already turned on. It would have said, I want assistant or I want the assistant in homepage ask. Really, the homepage ask is also saying, is this data set available to ask questions against it in the homepage search, which is this search bar right up here. You can run this. I just ran this manually, but you can actually have this on a schedule if your data changes a lot. And once again, you have synonyms over here, and you can have more than one synonym, So you can have multiple synonyms for any one of your columns. And the more the better, typically. It will help the users. It will help users to speak in their natural kind of jargon or any of the business terms that your organization utilizes. And once you're done here and you run it, it will be available to ask questions with directly in their workbooks. Now, one last native feature I want to cover, I'm going to go to the General tab. So I picked this data set very specific for this test. Let's look at the data elements. This data set contains a lot of rocket ship, space launch data, time, dates, right? Well, the first of many little AI features within here is this little wand. Do you want AI to produce a description of the data set based off of your data elements? Let's give it a shot. Well, that's probably better than I could have come up with. And not to mention, I could never have went into the data elements and still got this produced for me. It might be small, but it is a time saver. It also helps people understand these descriptions are really helpful. Not to mention they can be searched on when you're using the searches too. So it can all help. And there is a little bit of creativity. In large language models, that's called the temperature. So we do allow for a little bit of creativity. If you're not thrilled with this one, you can click it again. It will come back with another one, not the exact same one, slightly different. So you're able to hit it a few times, maybe get to the one you want, and you can obviously go there and tailor it yourself. Again, but this is just one area that we're adding to here, trying to make your life a little bit easier, trying to make the system a little bit better, save a little time. So I love that feature, and I can't wait for the next ones that come along. I'm going to close that right now, and I'll just say save. Now that covers the native AI capabilities of the system as of today. I would say it's time to move on to the integrated AI services. Now, I gave a lot of thought on how to cover all of them today. And per usual, I've created a workbook to help us out with that. Let's go ahead and open that up. For this portion, we have a very simple agenda. First, we're going to quickly look at all the available integrated AI models that you can use directly from OAC. Next, we're going to do a deep dive on several of the models. We're going to take a look at their outputs, what you can do with them. They're all going to be in nice kind of polished visuals. I'll explain a lot of them. And then lastly, we are going to focus on doing all the steps necessary to get the end results. That includes setting up the connection, registering them, and running several data flows. So that's going to be the flow for the second half of today's session. So let's start with available AI models. These are the different groupings. We have our language, document understanding, and vision. And for language, that's what we have available. Now, I just want to mention one thing. OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, does have additional pre-trained AI models available. They are not all available in OAC. Hopefully someday they will be. But just letting you know that Oracle might offer a few more, but these are the ones that are currently integrated with OAC. So we've got some good ones here. PII detection, sentiment analysis, language detection. For document understanding, we have two of them. Document classification, it's going to tell you what type of document it is. Is it an invoice? Is a receipt? Is it a passport? Is it some other PO, purchase order? And then we can get key value extraction. That's where it's going to try to find the key value pairs within the document and pull it out for us. And then finally, vision. So vision, we have the standard vision ones where you want to do maybe image classification or object detection, text detection, but we also now have just added video. So video really kind of falls under our Vision AI service, but the models are all now available where you can analyze videos right from OAC. So we're going to be talking about all of these, but right now, as of May 2025, these are the integrated AI models in OAC. So you can see at the top, I have a lot of different canvases, and this is going to help us walk through a lot of we're not going to touch every single model just because of the time, but we're going to hit on a lot of them and I'm going to explain them and show the results. So let's start off with language. First, language detection. Well, how does it work? You feed some text into it. It can be a word, a phrase, a paragraph, a book. Doesn't matter. The results that are given after the language detection model has been applied to this text, this was the results it came back with. It basically said, yep, I'm 100% sure that this is English, and I give the code, right? Pretty simple. Now, what about supported languages? This Our language detection service supports over 114 languages. And here's another good example. I fed this data set into our language service and look what it came back with. So it's able to score all the different languages in here, and you're seeing the results right there. Very straightforward, one of the easiest models to use because it just requires text and it has just a few output columns. One thing to note on that, in this service, it will pick the most dominant language inside your example text or any input text you give it. Whatever is the most dominant language, that is what it is going to provide back. Next, PII, or personal identifiable information. This is really when you want to hide information from users. So let's go ahead and show this. So over here, here's some example text. It's got a credit card number in there. It's got some dates. It's got some phone numbers, some email addresses. Now look what the model did to it. This is the result of the model, and it's giving you this obfuscated text. It's also telling you it found 6 different entities there, right at the top. And you can even see that it masked them in there. The cool thing with that model is you can pick and choose what character you want to mask it with. I think asterisk is default, but you can actually use another character. And when it comes to supported entities, these are the entities that you can target. So by default, they're all checked, but maybe you only want to be checking for a couple of them, or maybe person or address isn't as important to you, so you uncheck those. So when you apply the PII model, you get to configure this before you run it. So I'll also be showing that. All right, moving on to some more language models. Well, this one is sentiment analysis. And what I did here, that all that text at the top, I don't expect anyone to read it all, but what is there to represent is most of us have to create yearly reviews for our employers, right? And what if an employer wants to take all of their company's employees' yearly reviews and score them, maybe to see if their yearly reviews are positive or negative? That's the use case. So this is my fictitious year-end review, and we've ran it through the sentiment analysis model. Now, the model has options and gives you multiple different outputs. One of them is called document level. So based on this entire text, and the document is really all of the input text, how did it score? So you can see here, it's never just usually all one or nothing. It's got a little elements, a little negative, a little neutral, a little mixed. But ultimately, it's saying this is actually a positive one, not by much, but overall, it scores positive from sentiment analysis. Now, as the models build these, you can have it break it down by sentence. So right here, the tool will automatically break down every sentence and then score every sentence. So of course, some sentences are going to be, have different scores within there. So then you can analyze that. And taking this a little bit further, we have a special custom extension. It's called Text Highlighter that you can download for free on oracle.com. And when you bring in this extension to the platform, its specialty is to highlight text within larger areas of text. And this is done because the model provides an offset and a length, because that's where it has to find the text. And you can use those in this specially designed visualization that it has a spot to put the offset and the length, which is how this tool can highlight the areas that the AI model focused on, and of course, giving us our sentiment over here. So very powerful. And then there's one other level of sentiment analysis, and that's aspect. I'm going to show that one. So what this level does is it will pull out key aspects of the example text or the input text. And once again, it will find where it is from the offset and the length. It will give it a sentiment. And of course, you can see the scores. And if I scroll down a little bit, I again am using the same custom extension. So you can see here, for my sentiment text management, it's actually highlighting it right there in the text, and it's giving the sentiment that's positive. So pretty straightforward, but you do have, when you run these, you do have some configurable options. You don't need to produce all this data. But I do want to tell you is if you think about the amount of data just produced here, right? Really, all this data, this positive, this was all produced by this one text string, if you will, one paragraph. So you can produce a lot of data. There's a lot of rich data behind your input text. All right, moving on. Text classification. Text classification is really all about finding the what types of information are you talking about and grouping it into what's called domains. If you look at this example text, I just pulled it off the examples on our online AI pages. You can see it grabbed this text and the AI model produced, oh, this looks like sports and games, and more specifically, motorsports. So you get a domain and a subdomain, and of course, a confidence score. Now over here, these are all the current domains that are part of the AI model. And you can see here we have 23 domains and 111 subdomains. So this is really great for analyzing text, on message boards, on emails, to kind of see what people are talking about uh, from just a classification of these different domains. Now, key phrase extraction, slightly different. What key phrase extraction is the process of extracting the words with the most relevance. Obviously, that's the models interpreting what is most relevant. But this example text was run through the key phrase extraction model, and these are the results. So it said that these are statistically relevant based on what I'm reading. Now, why would you do this? Well, some of the business use cases for this is like email analysis, customer support tickets. Because if you can pull out key phrases, you can then do text tokenization on it to figure out how often they are occurring across all of your data. And that can give you some really powerful insights. All right, I think we got one more language to go through. And this is named entity recognition. So slightly different than the other ones. Named entity recognition is really looking about entities, people, places, and known things. So this example text, I think we've used this a few times. It pulled out these entities, and all these entities are organizations. And you can even see the confidence scores here. They're not all 100, some are a little bit lower. So again, these are all about entities and pulling that out of the text. And then grouping it because there will be a few different types of, and there will be a entity kind of subtype here that these all happen to be organization, but there are others. There will be persons and places. And because this model also gives me the offset and the length, it's another candidate to use with my text highlighter again, right here. So again, anytime you have an offset and a length, this highlighter is actually a pretty good viewer of the data. All right, so that kind of wraps up. That actually, we did go over all 6 of the language models. We're not going to be able to go over all the document understanding and vision, but I am going to talk you through a few of them. If I go into document, hide that for a second. So the first one is document classification. This is what type of document is it? Is it an invoice, a receipt, a purchase order? And this data, this is set up a little bit differently. Typically with languaging and doing any of the language models, you have the text already in a table, right? It's already in some data source that you can just query and pull in here. The one difference when you're trying to utilize vision and document models is they're looking for obviously objects, right? Images, PDF files, video files now. And typically these are going to live in object storage. So what is really needed is, and there are ways to get this, once you load these to an object storage bucket, you just need to get the URL or the reference path to them. So this first one shows you the data that I passed into the model. They all have pointers directly to different files. And the orange over here, this is telling you what it came back with. So I'm going to just select this one. And you can also see over here, I can actually view the image of that file. This is another custom extension image preview. Now, this does have some limitations on the type of buckets that you can use this on. So definitely take a look at the documentation before you try to productionize anything with some of these custom extensions. But this is a great one. I'm going to go look at the next one. All right, so this one happened to be a passport, right? So the system or the AI model identified this as a passport. And it identified this one as a receipt. Pretty straightforward there. So that's the first one, is document classification. And these are the types of results you're going to get back. It's going to give you back a document type, or potentially unknown if it can't figure it out. Now, the next piece of document understanding would be key value extraction. Now, for over here, you might want to grab all of this information from the receipt, which I have. I've ran all three of these objects through the key value extraction models, and let's take a look at them. All right, so we're selecting this one, and right here you can see the header info, example cafe is pulling out the transaction date, the transaction time, and you didn't have to do any of this, right? The model does this all, and I'll show you this in a few minutes. Pulled out the subtotal, and look at down here, was even able to capture the line item info. So this can all be done. And if I go up to the invoice, there we go. Here's the invoice information. It grabbed all the header information. Down below, it grabbed the line item information. So you can see these models are pretty smart. They've been trained on, hopefully thousands and millions of these types of documents. So it kind of understands what is header info, what is line item info, and it does a good job of extracting that. And then you can use this information for whatever you need. This is also great for a new way of doing receipt processing, right? You send your receipt in, you let these models extract it all for you. It can insert it into a form for you, and you just press submit. No more manually typing all this out. So that's definitely a good use case for that. So that kind of covers the document models. Next, let's go into vision. Now this one's a little bit different. So for vision, we have 4 different vision models. These OD tabs here are basically the output data of them. I'm just going to quickly go to the vision one. So for our vision service, we have 4 available models: face detection, image classification, object detection, text detection. And for each one of them, it tells you what are the output columns and what's the description of them, right? So depending on your model, you can always go into the documentation and say, I want to use this model. What am I going to get out of the model, right? And this is what you're going to get out of it. So just kind of showing you that. If I go back to this vision one, this model was done using an object detection model, right? So we fed it a bunch of images from a parking lot. And and then we analyzed all of them through our object detection. So these represent just different times in the day, but the same parking lot. So I'm going to click this. All right. It's early in the day. You can see it only found 4 cars, 1 street light. These are the distinct objects found. All right, still early in the day. All right, starting to pick up a little more this time of day. Now we're up to 15 cars, and so on and so forth, right? All right, now we're up to 44 cars. So this is just a great example, and this is, again, another custom extension. This custom extension allows you to not only see images, but it uses the vertices that are captured, basically your bounding boxes, borders, captures from the model that it produces. And in conjunction with those, this custom extension can highlight all of those within one image. So very cool. And let's just say, for example, for this use case, I'm going to not select anything. We'll now we can see all the objects that it found over a couple week period. I'd be interested to see some of the boat ones. And you can see over here, what's the average cars per hour, right? So a lot of information over here just by taking constant photos of something and then scanning them over time. So this is an example of object detection. And once again, I have all of my objects sitting in object storage, and then the data model just runs against each one of them and applies its outputs. Very simply, all behind the scenes, no coding required. And that's kind of what we're going to hop onto next. So hopefully I've given a good overview of kind of what you can do with these models, some of the outputs you can expect from some of these models. Um, and I think we covered them all. Yeah, we went through this one. So at this time, I think it would be good if we go through and I walk you through the steps on how to get to these results. All right, first, it all starts with a connection, a very special connection. When I go to create and I say connection, it's this OCI resource connection. I'm going to click that for a minute. Now, this connection allows OAC to communicate with those AI services. Now, the first thing to know is typically you will need a few policies written. And there are two methods for securing the authentication. One can be by user. That's by an API key and a user D. The better method for doing this is setting up what's called a resource principal. This still requires a policy from your OCI admin. But what a resource principal essentially does is you're giving OAC permission to communicate with those AI services. Now you can still lock down these connections so not everyone can use it, but this right now, if the policy is written correctly, this should allow me to connect to all AI services. So this is my OCI AI services. And the nice thing is with these connections, you can tell which services you want it to connect to. So we know we want vision, language, and document understanding, but this connection also allows you to just connect to object storage, use our function service, or potentially use our data science service. So it's a very powerful connection. So I'm just going to leave it that I want this connection to be able to communicate with these three services. Done. So that means the resource principal has been set up. That means the policies are in place. And that means this OAC instance, using that connection, can now communicate with any of our AI services. Once you have that connection set up, you just need to register the models you're going to use. And that you do, you come up here, register model. Once again, you're seeing the different areas. We'll start off with some language. So I'm going to use the My OCI AI services. You do need to select a compartment. And now here, those are those 6 models I said. They're all available and I can select any one of them. I'm going to do the PII. And even here, you can see the outputs. Remember the PII has the number of entities masked and then the summary with the obfuscated data. So I'm going to say my PII model and I'm going to register it. Once again, you do need to have a staging bucket because it does they typically need to leave some model artifacts there and stage them temporarily. So once I register that, remember this is called my PII model, I come up to machine learning. There it is. So at this point, we've created a connection and then a model, and both can be secured, right? You can always go into the connection. Where is the my right here? I can come here, secure this so only a few people can have access to it. And then, or maybe you just create if you don't give anyone access to it and you create and register the models. Then once you register the models, you can of course do the same thing and then secure who can use these models. So there's still a couple levels of security before anyone can even use these. Just because we are talking about these are integrated services or other services that do have additional consumption. So you always want to be aware of it. So there are a lot of security controls in place. So we've created that model. Great. Now at this point, it's all about a data flow. I'm going to come over here, data flow. We are going to start with some data. So let's do some, let's see, what do I want? I'm going to do the PII one, if I can find it. Let's see. There we go. So this PII data, very simple. I don't know why this isn't showing, but that's okay. My text is right there. I only have two columns. I have row ID and my text. Because that's really all you need, because we're analyzing. Oh, there it is. This was the one that had all that sensitive information in it. Now, at this point, of course, you can do more cleaning and any other tasks within the data flow, but I'm going to apply an AI model. There's all the models that I have access to, and there's my PII model. So at this point, you're just configuring it. And I can say, okay, what column do I want to obfuscate? Well, my input text. What character? Remember, I was talking about a character. You can put different characters in here. Do you want some of the characters to be left unmasked? We've all seen that maybe people will show the last four of a social security number or a few digits of a larger number. You have that capabilities if you want to leave a few of them unmasked. And then, of course, you can start from the beginning to the end. But what I like the most here is which entities do you want it to apply? You can see they're all, by default, they're all selected. But you can go and tailor this. You can pick a few of them that you're really most concerned on and run it that way. I'm just going to say okay to all 15. And at this point, you're just saving data. Nothing more. You give the data set, basically the results, a data set name. You save the data flow, you run it, and you're going to get the results just like you saw before of that new obfuscated text. So very straightforward. Most of the language models are very straightforward that way. Because even here, I'm going to pick another model. I'm going to go into, let's see, let's do language detection. Just so you can see another one. These are the outputs, right? I'm going to get 4 output columns. What's my input column? Well, my input text. Do I have a primary key? Basically, that is telling you, hey, when this outputs, add your primary key so you can join it back to the original data set. And at this point, we are done. All we'd have to do is save it and run it. And we're done. So next, I want to move on to anything with document understanding or vision or video, because those are the ones that are really taking URLs. So most of language, your input is text. For the other ones, your input is really the URL where they live is the most important feature. So let's go ahead and add some data. And let's do all right. So you can see the preview of my data set, right? You can see that just a service I'm going to use this with is document understanding. These are all objects. I have the object URL, and then I have the bucket URL. And I'm going to say why this, I'm going to show you why this is important. Obviously, all the buckets are the same. I am then going to apply an AI model. I am going to do let's do document understanding, document classification. Just going to hide this panel for a minute. So with a document classification model, immediately you see all your outputs, right? And then down here, what's your input column? This right here, column for identifying your OCI object storage location. And I'm going to say object. But you also have the option to say object and documents, or if you have a bucket URL. So this is going to basically, this one is going to use all the hyperlinks that you give it here, or all the URLs that you provide it. And when you say documents, it's going to run each one at a time. If you have a bucket column, I can run it for the whole bucket, right? So you just know everything in your object storage bucket you want to be analyzed. You don't have to go in and get all the reference paths for all the objects. You just say, do the whole bucket. Now, you can also say the number maximum of types to fetch. Remember, we're doing document classification. Sometimes it might have more than one. And then you can also include all columns in the original result set, which is really handy. That's it. That's all you need to do. So those are really the main options, whether you're going after a bucket or individual documents. And that's why you might see having two columns, a bucket column and an object column, depending on what your use case requires. And one last one. I am going to use a vision one, just so you can see vision. There's a vision object detection. Once again, vision is going to need a path or paths to know where the objects are, your images that it wants to analyze. And see, exact same setup. We do get different outputs, same setup. I want to be object, images. And maybe if I'm doing images, maybe I want a max of 15 images or objects to be identified for every image. So I think I've pretty much covered most of the different ways. And I just want to reiterate this. If you've run one of these for one language model, you can run them for all. If you've done one of these for vision document understanding or the new video service, you can do the rest. It's just a little configuring, and most of the output columns are slightly different at the end of the day. And I also want to mention that Oracle Analytics Cloud also can register custom models, right? We've been using all the pre-trained ones, but if your organization has built a custom model, those can also be registered. So not just the pre-trained models. And I think that was the last topic I planned on covering today. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone who attended. And as always, I hope this was a good use of your time. I want to say a big thank you to Uma, Joey, and the rest of the team that helped put these sessions together.
Awesome session. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Uma. Just a quick recap before we sign off. Here are some things to remember. We discussed an overview or refresher on Oracle Analytics Cloud and how it provides you with self-service, governed, and augmented analytics. We explored the different concepts of native AI in OAC, like the AI assistant. And we also discussed how to bring models in from other OCI services and apply them to data in OAC. So that includes all the things that Pete went over in the demo today, including vision, language, document understanding, images, and videos. Now, if you enjoyed this session and you want to learn more, there are many different ways in which you can get your hands on different training opportunities within Oracle Cloud. You can get certified through Oracle University and go through some guided learnings and learning subscriptions as well. You can get hands-on experience through the Oracle Cloud free tier, or you could go through some live labs or build out some solutions with us on Code Innovate. There's also plenty of documentation and best practices through the OCI Cloud Adoption Framework. And we also have videos like these and many others on YouTube as well. If you would like us to conduct personalized training sessions for your organization, do email us at our personal training email and we will reach out to you. If you want us to also conduct just a hands-on lab, we have our newly designed QuickShot Live Labs for a more expedited hands-on learning towards any particular topic of your team's interest. And there's also the Code Innovate program where we will co-develop a solution with you based on your own use case. Just remember that personal training is an investment that we make in our customers to help them grow and develop their OCI skills at no extra cost to them. We also have a couple other Day One and Beyond series webinars. So there is the core series that continues throughout the year. We have the Oracle Analytics Cloud series that you are watching right now. There's the hands-on series, Cloud Native Launchpad, Cloud Security series, and Did You Know, to let you know what's new in OCI. Our next live session, Semantic Modeling in OAC, will be on June 2nd. So we hope to see you there. But thanks for joining today's session, everyone, and have a great day.